Review for test 2.1. That's the first test of the second 6 weeks. So we're going to use our knowledge of linear functions and slope to answer the following questions. Number 1, find the slope of the line from the table below. To find the slope from a table, we can use the slope formula. That's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So from a table, I can choose any 2 points and plug it into this formula. So, this point has a 0 in it. I like that, so I'm going to choose that one to be my first point. And 1, 1, those are nice small numbers, so I'm going to choose that to be my second point. It doesn't matter which 2 points you choose, remember? You can use any 2 points from the table. So I'm going to plug those into my equation. So I've got y2 is 1 minus a negative 2 divided by 1 minus 0. All right, remember minus a negative, that's like distributing that negative 1. So that's going to be 1 plus 2 over, and 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3 over 1. So my slope for this relationship is 3. Number 2 says, find the rate of change for the function y equals negative 5x plus 6. Describe what the rate of change tells you about the relationship between x and y. Do you remember your rate of change? Your rate of change is your m value in your equation. Here, this equation is already solved for y, so my slope is going to be that coefficient of x. So m is negative 5. The relationship between x and y. So this is how we get how far we move from point to point. So in this case, we would go down 5 and right 1 to get from one point to another. Number 3. To find the slope from a graph, there's a few different ways to do this. I can use the slope formula, or I can identify 2 points and count the rise over the run. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with this point. And, I kind of like this point up here because it's identified. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my rise over the run. So to get from this point to this point, I'm going to go up 6,000 feet. And then I go right 6 minutes. I can reduce this ratio to be 1,000 over 1. So my slope is 1,000. My slope is 1,000 feet per minute. Number 4. Number 4 says the graph for a stable that charges a $20 flat fee plus $10 per hour for horseback riding is shown below. How will the graph change if the stable changes its charges to $30 per hour? So the $10 per hour and the $30 per hour are the slopes that we're comparing. So here I notice that it starts at 20. If I go up 10 and increase an hour, up 10 and increase an hour, that describes my slope. So if I change this to $30 per hour, I would go up 30 and over 1. So that increases my slope so that the line is steeper. So the graph will be steeper. Remember, the bigger the number for your slope, the steeper the line. Number 5. Number 5 says, a real estate sales agent receives a salary of $500 per week, plus a commission of 2% of sales. Write an equation that gives the weekly income Y in terms of sales X and identify the slope. So the real estate agent's salary, Y, is $500 per week plus a commission of 2% of sales. So remember, to use a percent as a number in an equation, we have to move that decimal over 2 places. So 0.02 times X are the sales. In this problem, the slope is the coefficient of X. So my slope is the 2%. Number 6. Number 6 says, in 1980, the average price of a home in Brainerd County was $97,000. By 1986, the average price of a home was $109,000. If this produces a linear function, what is the slope and what does it mean? Here it says let t correspond in 1980. So what they're saying is, for 1980, we're going to let that be 0. So 1986 will be 6. So if this is a linear function and we have a slope, the slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What we have to do here is we have to identify, well, what are the y values and what are the x values? Well, time are the x values. So I'm going to let x1 be 0. So x2 is 6. So my y1 has to be the 97,000, so y2 is the 109,000. So I can plug those into my equation. So I have 109,000 minus 97,000 divided by 6 minus 0. So that gives me 12,000 over 6 minus 0 is 6. 12,000 divided by 6, that's 2,000. So my slope is 2,000. And if my units, remember, were dollars per year. So it's $2,000 per year. So the slope means that the average price of a home increases by $2,000 per year. Average price of a home increases by $2,000 per year. Number 7. The scatter plot shows a projection of the average ocelot population living in Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge near Brownsville, Texas. Based on this relationship, predict the number of ocelots living at the wildlife refuge in 2014 if nothing is done to help manage the ocelot population. So if I look at my scatter plot here, it appears that the average population is decreasing every year. Do we have a negative trend? So what I can do is I can use this data to write a regression and then use that equation to find out what the population would be in 2014. So let's do that now. So we're going to add a new document, add a lists and spreadsheets page. So my X are going to be my years, my Y's are going to be the populations. So I'm going to pull the points here from the graph. So it looks like we're counting the years by 2. So in 2004, we had a population of 37 ocelots. In 2006, there was a population of 34 ocelots. In 2008, there was a population of 33 ocelots. In 2010, there was a population of 31 ocelots. So on a data and statistics page, I can create that regression again. So that looks just like my graph here on the paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the linear regression. So menu, analyze, regression, show linear. So that gives me an equation of y equals negative 0.95x plus 1940.4. So I wrote that equation down. What that means that y is my population, x is the year. So in 2014, I can plug in 2014 for my x value to solve for y. So I have negative 0.95. And see that negative? Remember, we have a negative correlation, so we're going to have a negative slope. So here, negative 0.95 times 2014. That's negative 1913.3 plus 1940.4. So negative 1913.3 plus 1940.4 gives me 27.1. Remember, we can't have 0.1 ocelots, though. So the number of ocelots in 2014 would be 27. Number 8, we're going to use the table below to answer the question. So again, we're going to do a linear or a regression. I don't know if this is linear yet. So we're going to identify the kind of function. We're going to decide is it linear, quadratic, or exponential. We're going to do the regression to write the equation, and then we're going to find some function values. So back to my calculator. I'm going to start over. So I'm going to add a lists and spreadsheets page. So I have x, and then b is f of x. So I could type in f of x, or another way to say f of x is y. So my x values, I have negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then my y values, I have negative 4, negative 1, 2, 5, 8, 11, and 14. So then I can add a data and statistics page. And I'm going to organize my points. by labeling my axes. So x-axis is at the bottom, y-axis is at the right. And this appears to be linear. So I'm going to label my type of function as linear. So now I need an equation. So I'm going to go to Menu, Analyze, Regression, and Show Linear because we want a linear regression. My equation is y equals 3x plus 5. So now to find the function values. I want you to find the function value for c. We're going to do d together. So f of 25, remember y is the same thing as f of x. So y equals 3x plus 5. That's the same thing as f of x equals 3x plus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace x with 25. So f of 25 equals 3 times 25 plus 5. Remember this f of 25, that's function notation. We're not evaluating f times 25. We're evaluating the 3 times 25 plus 5. So 3 times 25 is 75 plus 5. So 75 plus 5 is 80. So f of 25 equals 80. Number 9. Number 9 I'm going to leave for you to do on your own. It's similar to 10. Number 10, we're going to find the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points. So this is just like that table from the very beginning, the first problem. Only now, instead of giving you a table of values to choose from, you're given just 2 points. So we're going to use that slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to label my points. I have x1 and y1, x2 and y2. Remember, it's really important. It doesn't matter which point is 1 and which point is 2, but x1 and y1 have to stay together. x2 and y2 have to stay together. So now I can substitute into my equation. So my slope, m, equals 5 minus 3 over 6 minus 6. And now to simplify. 5 minus 3 is 2 over 6 minus 6 is 0. 2 over 0, we can't divide 2 by 0, so this slope is undefined. Remember, when 0 is in your denominator, you have an undefined relationship. Number 11 is similar. We're going to use the same formula. Only now I have variables attached to my points. I have 6p, 10p as a point, and 12p, 20p as a point, and we're going to assume that p is not equal to 0. So we're going to assume that none of these points are 0, 0. So again, I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. We're using that same formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my slope is 20p minus 10p over 12p minus 16p. Now to simplify. 20p minus 10p is 10p. Those are like terms, so we can simplify. Over 12p minus 16p, that's negative 4p. Here, p over p cancels, that's 1. And 10 over negative 4, that's 5 over negative 2. So my slope is negative 5/2. Number 12. Number 12 says, as the age of a car increases, its value decreases. Which scatter plot best represents this relationship? So I'm looking for as age. Here, if I have age is increasing, my value is decreasing. That would be a negative correlation. So choose the answer that has a negative correlation. Number 13. 13 says a carpenter recorded the amount of money he earned for different jobs and the amount of time he spent on each job. The data is shown in the scatter plot below. The question says, based on the data, which best represents the amount of money the carpenter would earn from a job that took 5 days to complete? So we're looking right here. So what I could do is I could draw a line of best fit here for this data. And then I'm going to compare my answer choices. So 2,500, that would be way too much. 500 seems a bit low. 1,250. That looks like a good choice, but let's check the last one. The last one is 200. 200 is far too low. So the correct answer would be C. This review is due Tuesday, October 11th, before the exam. Be sure to study for our test on October 11th.